I'm licensed marriage and family therapist Joe Follette Jr. Welcome to my third video in the series about the 8 levels of intimacy a couple must achieve to have a sizzle mindset and a sizzling hot marriage. In this series, I'm sharing what it takes to become a sizzling hot marriage with you for free. In order to have a sizzling hot marriage, you've got to have a sizzle mindset. A sizzle mindset represents the 8 levels of intimacy a couple must achieve to become all that God intended for their marriage to be. These 8 levels of intimacy are being committed, being flexible, being available, being calm, being talkative, being sexy, being mindful, and being God-centered. In this video, I'm going to teach you how the third sizzle mindset level of intimacy of being available can reduce the negativity between you and enhance your marital satisfaction significantly. Too many couples take their marriage for granted. Many get married without reading one book on marriage or getting any premarital counseling. That's like thinking you don't need lessons before you're jumping into the deep end of the pool. Something I hate to admit I have done. Too many are unprepared for marriage. So when disagreements occur, they have no idea what to do. For many, their go-to is to run and hide. They ignore, avoid, pivot, explode, shut down, leave, threaten, divorce, all in an effort to reduce the conflict. Obviously, these methods don't work. Instead, you need to learn to face your problems head on. Address them as soon as possible. Don't slip into an imaginary world that says they will just go away. They won't. Don't be like that guy who finally made it to the doctor, only for the doctor to tell him if he had come a little sooner, he might have been able to save that leg. If you don't make time for your marriage, your union will ultimately disappear. You will end up roommates in the same house, or worse yet, divorced. Couples should spend between 5 and 15 hours each week in undivided attention with one another. An easy thing to do. Couples should have sit-down, eye-to-eye conversations every day. An easy thing to do. Stressful life experiences and other responsibilities can cause a spouse to neglect their marriage. Your spouse should be your number one priority, even when other important stuff is going on. If you don't make time for your spouse, you and your spouse may become vulnerable to spending time with someone else. You may lose your marriage if you don't give it the time it deserves. Availability is a critical level of intimacy couples need to achieve. When you don't spend time with your spouse, you begin to see their faults more clearly. You can actually begin to despise them. Now picture this. The person you fell in love with and promised to have their back till death do you part, you know you now can't stand to even look at them. That is a result of failing to spend time with your spouse. Taking your marriage for granted involves continually making appointments with everybody else but each other. You are constantly going and doing for everybody else except each other. You are constantly on the phone with everybody else except each other. You've got time for everybody else, but not for each other. Can't even be in bed together without bringing somebody else in the bed with you in the form of some electronic attention-grabbing, hogging device. If you want a sizzling hot marriage, you must pay attention to your spouse. You must make yourself available to your spouse. Your brain and your body, you've got to make it available to your spouse. You must allocate time and resources to your spouse and to taking care of your marriage. Being available is not just being in the same house or the same room as your spouse. It means giving your spouse your undivided attention 5 to 15 hours each week. It means paying attention to their requests and doing what you said you would do. Your marriage is your garden. I remember when I planted a garden some years ago, I had great intentions, but I didn't follow through. I didn't give that garden the attention it needed. I didn't water it, weed it, fertilize it, prune it like it needed. The result was deformed vegetables that were completely inedible. What are you going to do with your marriage garden? Have you been giving it the attention it needs, or have you been neglecting it? When couples get into my 9-month marriage rehab program, they are committing to focus on their marriage for 9 months. The results are remarkable. What you focus on, you cause to happen. If your marriage is on the rocks, you have probably not given it the time and attention it needs to thrive. Being available involves spending time focused on each other and doing things together, making mental and emotional space for each other, and saying yes to each other's requests. Don't you want your spouse to say yes to your request? Then you should say yes to their request. If your spouse asks you for a glass of water, do you say, "Get it yourself"? If they ask you for sex, do you push them away? If they ask you to go to a social event, do you say no? If you want a sizzling hot marriage, you must trust that your spouse is not going to request something that will hurt your relationship or hurt you personally. Certainly, you should say no to things your values would not allow you to do. But I hope your spouse wouldn't ask you to do something like that. But most requests are not in that category. They're in the category of preferences, opinions. You should be more than happy to fulfill the requests of your spouse. And if you have conflicting preferences, take turns. If your favorite show is on at the same time, record one and watch it later. Be intentional about ensuring that both of you have wins and get what you want. Do you want a more fruitful relationship with your spouse? You need to make yourself more available and accessible to them. When you achieve this level of intimacy, you'll finally be able to enjoy the companionship you signed up for. Be sure to watch my next video on being calm, the 4th level of intimacy a couple must achieve to have a sizzle mindset. Give me a thumbs up by subscribing to my channel. If you haven't yet, get a copy of my book, The Sizzle Mindset, 7 Secrets to Keep the Passion Alive in Your Marriage, and start learning what you need to do to turn your marriage around. See you in my next video.